The Bleed Hammerdin is a classic build in last Epoch. This patch it lost volatile reversal, so it no longer gains more damage from it, but it gained a lot of damage back from bleed duration scaling with endurance threshold and other sentinel buffs, so it's still a great build in the meta. It is a very tanky build, has a lot of sustain with leech, so this build has so much bleed duration that leech on bosses that gets crazy, you never actually run out of leech, so it's kind of like having overleech, very strong. The gameplay on this build stays very similar to before, so now instead of volatile reversal we're using shield throw for its buffs, gives you physical penetration and also armor and frenzy. Other than that, it's the same as before, very easy to play, using unspec'd shield rush for movement and then holy aura, symbols of hope for buffs. Gear in this build is quite straightforward, so you stack as much HP as possible to get tanky and to get endurance threshold for damage. On top of that, stack strength to gain even more endurance threshold with the set bonus. And don't forget to get all the bleed related affixes on your gear, and of course minus throwing mana cost on your rings. Overall, this build is great for especially hardcore and also for season starting, so as a bleed build it's quite easy to get going. It doesn't require any uniques, but of course getting all the bleed uniques does help a lot with the DPS. So hammer throw, main damage skill, and on this setup it's a spiral hammer, so we want to get the spiral node and then the projectiles. So this basically shotguns the spiral hammer, so you can get a lot of bleed stacks, and that's why it's good for bleed specifically. And then we just get the more damage nodes here, so these of course work for the bleeds that you apply with hammer. And something to note here on the hammer throw tree, so if you want to you can spec this orbit node here, which makes the hammers follow you. So this can speed up the mapping. So some people like it, some people don't. Holy aura, passive buffs, Elirest endurance, poisonous cleanse, and then just damage and also haste here. So this one does nothing because it's throwing attack damage, so we don't care about this. But the haste is of course very worth it. Symbols of hope, passive buffs. So we never cast this skill manually. So you want to get the increased damage, endurance threshold, and the block chance, block effectiveness. Then you get a bit of mana regen here with the last points. Shield throw, so this is just for buffing. You get physical pen, also armor, and then frenzy here. And then smite, so this one we actually just proc through the idle affix. So you do need that idle affix to actually proc it. Gives you attack speed, gives you a lot of just bleed damage from the smite itself, so this applies bleeds and then the damage multiplier affects the bleeds also. So for passives, pretty usual stuff, all the usual sentinel things like the DR, strength, vitality, and then of course we want this for the attack speed with an axe, so you want to be using a dragon bone axe base, important to get the attack speed here. And just resistance, DR, and then bleed chance here with an axe, and the block chance. On Paladin, the usual things, penetration, resistance, block, endurance, and then necro res. Just 1 point here for the frailty, that's all you really need, is the 1 point, you have a lot of hits, so the 10% chance is enough. 5 points, all res, armor, and block chance maxed out, of course. And then the bleed nodes here, so you do want to get the bleed duration scaling, of course, so this makes it so endurance threshold scales bleed duration, which also means HP scales bleed duration, and of course with the set here you also get endurance threshold per strength, so very good stuff there for the damage, and this one for physical pen with bleed. Holy aura, symbols effect, very strong, and then the armor applied to dot regen here also, and then the last points into divine essence for the damage reduction. So the gearing of this build is pretty simple. You want to stack as much HP as possible and of course get the throwing minus mana cost affixes here. And ideally you also get all the uniques. They add quite a bit of damage. So you get bleed duration, bleed chance. So they just add a lot of damage for bleed. It's kind of like a set item almost for bleed. And then the Machasa shield for a lot of tankiness. So a portion of block effect applies to dot. Very strong, and of course high block chance on the shield as well. Bleeding hearts, so this makes the leech go so crazy. It's a high value of leech, 9%. The less health region does affect a little bit, so we do still build health regen, mostly because we want to get just like more HP here, so you still go for stuff like health regen affix, just for the HP pretty much. Of course, if you want, you can use Nihilist, for example, but this is just crazy for the sustain, especially on anything that's actually like difficult, where you actually need the sustain. And of course, this also gives you leech, by the way, so that's 11% leech just from these 2 items, and these are like common items, easy to get. Other than that, using the set, like I said before, so the bear set, entrance threshold per strength, so 30 strength, so very, very good. And other than that, it's just like HP stacking pretty much. Of course, you won't get all the bleed affixes, physical pen, chance to bleed on hit, like always. And on the planner here, we do have 5.4k HP just on the end game planner. And then on aspirational, it's 7k HP almost. So very, very tanky boy. This one, even on starter, it's quite nice. And for the idols, getting bleed duration on all of these is very important. So there's a lot of damage. And then you can go for physical damage over time, suffix, or you can also go for block effectiveness. And on this one, I do go block effect and then the smite affix, of course. And all the enchants are less damage over time taken while using a shield. And then just vitality, health regen, and resistances. So depending what res you need, you get these. Of course, keep in mind if you, for example, don't need this res here, you can take out the 2 points. If you need endurance, you can get more here. So there's some, things. If you need stuff, you can get it from the tree or idols, for example. And keep in mind, the planner never has capped res for paladins because of holy aura and other things like that. So yeah, overall, classic build, pretty simple as a build. So this is great for like also like new players and stuff. So it's a bit easier to understand. There's not that much insane things going on. But still a very, very solid build in the current meta, and very good for hardcore especially, very tanky, very safe. That's the build, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.